Hello, fabulous superstar Cancer. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of September 2024. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological month, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. Boy, is this a very special time. And it truly is so special. Now, right out of the gate, September 1st is a huge day. We have big celestial events taking place there. One is the fact that Uranus will go retrograde. And Uranus goes retrograde in a friendship part of your sky. And this is a big moment of truth in the context of the friends in your life, who they are, how you feel about them, who it is that you really feel is with you and who you feel really isn't. Sometimes a dramatic sense of people coming and going can happen as well. With Uranus going retrograde, it's a chance to look within as to who your friends are, but also the group dynamics you find yourself in and how you feel about them. And with Uranus, there's also a sense of ripping off a Band-Aid. Like you make a choice, you see the truth, it is undeniable, and you know what it is that you want to do and what you have to do. And for some, that could just be cutting off certain people. And I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen, especially as you see someone differently now. On the same day, Pluto retrogrades back into your opposite sign. This is going to be just 7 weeks. And once we reach mid-November, November 19th, it is going to be then that Pluto will leave this part of your sky, not to return for the rest of your life. It'll be over 200 years before Pluto is back in your opposite sign. Since 2008, you've been in quite a journey related to partnerships of all kinds, the one-on-one alliances in your life, business alliances, but also love as well. I'll talk about love more specifically in just a little bit further in this video. But suffice it to say, this is you looking at your alliances with other people, what's healthy and what isn't, being more deeply honest with yourself about the dynamics you found yourself in and what worked, but also what didn't. And it's also about powerfully karmic alliances with others that could be playing out as well. So stay open to possibility. You've learned so much about power and power struggles in the context of one-on-one alliances. And you've attracted some pretty powerful people, but also have come to understand you and what real alliances are for you. The superficial just won't cut it going forward from here. Now, navigating just the next day on the 2nd of the month, we have a new moon. And this new moon takes place in a communicative part of your sky. And it also has to do with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, conversation, communication, learning, what you're curious about, what you're talking about is all covered here. And this new moon is opposite Saturn. And that opposition is quite interesting because it has to do with a reality check that comes from outside of you. It has to do with what's happening in relation to an interaction that you might have or an external event now that in some way makes you aware of either limitations or what your responsibilities truly are, but also are not. There's a sense of hearing news now that ultimately invites you to look at how you're going to empower yourself or not. What it is that you can do, what you're actually hearing, what's being told to you is all covered here. If you want to learn something new, what is that journey actually going to involve? What sacrifice is involved, which is part of what Saturn represents is sacrifice, whether it's sacrifice of time or resources or otherwise. But what might you gain for that sacrifice? This is the start of a journey. You may have some lesson around what's to be said and what is not to be said. And so understanding that just because something is said, you responding to it, well, that split second where you choose your responses can be very powerful. That might be part of the awareness that comes to you at this time. Now, there could be developments related to a sibling, cousin, or neighbor in your life, and you may be very aware of the limits of your power and thinking about, what do you want to say? What do you want to do? What feels right? What feels comfortable? What feels appropriate or not? You may have a sense of wanting to be there, but in what way is it right or not? Ultimately, you can't make decisions for other people, and you get to decide what actions are appropriate for you to take as part of influencing them or supporting them in the way that you feel they might need. Navigating forward, the 17th of the month is huge. That is when we begin eclipse season. Here we are, a partial lunar eclipse happening in fellow water sign Pisces. This is a part of the sky that is worldly. It has to do with long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, legal matters, as well as your understanding of the beliefs that help you to make sense of the world, that guide your life in some way, that help you align with a sense of what is right and wrong for you. Now, an eclipse brings with it fated moments, and eclipses tend to move quickly, but this eclipse is powerfully karmic, I will tell you. It can feel as if life and the universe have a will of their own, and you are being invited to show up in some way for it. This will of its own, this sense of a world opening up to you, perhaps literally or figuratively, can happen for you very quickly now, where in an instant, it feels like other roads are there. So lunar eclipses bring with them closures, the end of chapters. Big planets are involved here, and this eclipse is part of a kite formation, which is a major configuration of that much more power, but positive energy overall. We have Uranus on one side and Pluto on the other, both making harmonious connections to the eclipse. We have Saturn on one side and Neptune on the other of the moon during the lunar eclipse. And we have a square of Jupiter to the eclipse. And it's that Jupiterian energy that's making everything feel that much bigger, that much more over the top. And it's consequential energy overall, with all outer planets involved here. And so if it is that you're doing traveling, it can end up being a life-changing journey. If you're involved in an immigration or citizenship matter, there could be important developments on that front. And with eclipses, chapters come to a close. So you finally get an answer that might bring a process to an end, that restores you to an awareness of your power. But wherever you're supposed to be, and it quite literally is the where of where you're supposed to be, it's karmic. It feels like the time has come. And it is also, if you are involved in a legal matter, there can be closures now. Things could come to an end. Because Saturn is there, it does suggest that whatever happens, it isn't necessarily windfall energy. You might expect that, you might want that with the square of Jupiter. But that may not necessarily be the outcome, but there can be a sense of closure here. And if it is that you're involved in an institute of higher learning, you're going to get some developments and final answers on that front as well. More personally, this could be energy that reveals a sense of what you really believe. And you get to decide whether or not it's working for you going forward from here. Now, where it comes to matters of love, it's all about Pluto in many ways. I mean, as we move towards the end of the month, Venus does move into a heart-oriented part of the sky for you. And I'll talk a lot more about that when we get to next month's horoscope. But the thing is, the dominant energy for you now, without a doubt, is that Pluto moving back into your opposite sign. And with Pluto in your opposite sign, it can feel like attractions and alliances and relationships and a sense of being with another person, there's a sense of fate to it. There's a sense of karmicness to it. And if you're not feeling it deep within to your core, it's just not going to be of interest to you. But where it is that there's been power struggle, power games, which can happen with Pluto in your opposite sign, the limits of what you're willing to put up with and what you're not can start to show themselves to you now as well. It's a big moment of truth of the games people play. And for some Cancerians, where you feel that there might have been some abuse, I'm sorry to say it does happen. There might have been someone really not being fair to you on that level. That awareness and that frustration is going to feel right on the surface. It is going to feel right in your face in some way. And the unacceptableness of it will also feel on the surface as well. So for those of you open to meeting someone new, I think the desire to connect with someone is going to feel very strong, very fated. Out of nowhere, it can feel like you attract somebody into your life and you're feeling it on such a deep and profound level. And ultimately, this is about you understanding the power that you have and you don't have over another person. Now, you know, if you've watched me for a while, I say we really have no power over anybody else. People do all kinds of things and they do it out of decisions they've made based on all that they're bringing to that moment of a choice, whether that choice is conscious or unconscious. All we can do is be ourselves, strive to be the best that we can be, and that's it, and turn it over. But as part of this learning about what love is and isn't for you, yes, I do think it is very possible you, like a magnet, would find yourself in a particular alliance that feels like it has a will of its own. It's going to be whatever it is that it needs to be. And now is a time when you pace yourself and decide what it is you want to do. If you have any kind of past dynamics where things were not fair, and I want to say with this, it can also feel like if there were experiences that really felt like they weren't fair, especially when I think about the energy that might have been with you in December and in the very beginning of January. Well, that was the last time Pluto was where Pluto is going to return to now. And if there was someone there at that time, you just might have some sort of a reemergence, whether that is of them quite literally or of some memory that now you have to deal with of how unfair things might have been. But it's like this is the work that you're meant to do now as part of moving towards relationships that ultimately are that much more authentic and meaningful to you. For those of you just starting to date someone, this is very all or nothing, and you're starting that journey of recognizing what this is and also what this isn't. If this is someone to navigate forward with, you will feel yourself very all in, or they just might as well. But if this is someone not to navigate forward with, this is so all or nothing. This is so seeing that side, that face, that maybe is just not acceptable to you as part of figuring out what you want to do next. This can also indicate an increase of intimacy, the kind that you feel very deeply on levels that are profound. Ultimately, people in your life now, they change you, perhaps even forever going forward from here. And for those of you in an established bond, powerful energies at play here. And in established bonds, again, we have very all or nothing energy. If you're in the right relationship for you, it can feel that much deeper, more profound, more connected. But where it is that this might not be the right relationship for you, I think that's going to feel that much more evident to you at a time like this as well. And the inconvenience and the real pain of being in the wrong relationship would stir very strongly for you if that is the case. If Pluto is anything, it is honest, deeply, sometimes painfully honest. What is the real nature of the relationship, the depth of it? You're about to get real with yourself as part of figuring out the next best steps for you. What I love about this month for you, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I'm going to say Pluto retrograding back into your opposite sign. It's a 7-week transit. It'll stay with you for the rest of your life. It is wrapping up the larger lessons that have been with you since 2008, and that is saying a lot. In some way, what happens now in partnerships of all kinds is going to hearken to what was taking place going all the way back to December, the beginning of January in some way. But ultimately, it is about you seeing what was taking place then differently so that now you can make a different choice, one that aligns you with partnerships that are real, that are more authentic, and ultimately that much stronger, lasting going forward from here. Well, thank you so much for watching. You can get a video like this each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great month. Enjoy.